With the Minnesota Vikings hiring Kevin O'Connell on the offensive side of the ball, even though I do think the KOC is going to be the head coach of the entire team, the big question is, who is he going to bring in to coordinate that defense, get after it on the other side of the ball? Well, a lot of connections were made because Mike Pettin obviously gave Kevin O'Connell a shot on his 2015 Brown staff, but fans, they were really having it, where I like Mike Pettin. I don't think that he was as bad as Packers fans think during his time in Green Bay, but what can you do? But three names have emerged in the defense coordinator derby to be the next Vikings DC. Our boy Will Raggett, Sports Illustrated, three names connected to the Vikings DC vacancy are emerging. Lions defensive backs coach / passing game coordinator Aubrey Plesant, Rams D-line coach, run game coordinator Anthony Weaver, and former Ravens DC Wink Martindale. Don Wink Martindale, whatever. Same thing. Plesant and Weaver worked with KOC in LA. Well, Plesant in LA, Weaver with Washington. Yes. Yeah. We're going to get into it right now. So, first name up on the list, not Mike Pettin, Aubrey Plesant. So, Lions DB coach, passing game coordinator, 35 years young. He used to play former Badger safety. Nailed it. So, but don't hold that against him. What can you do? Started coaching the NFL in 2013. Actually spent a year on offense with Washington that season. And even though he spent a lot of time in Washington 4 seasons, he actually didn't cross over with Kevin O'Connell. KOC was with the Niners in 2016 with Quasey. And then 2017, he joined Washington and Jay Gruden. So they just crossed paths in the night in D.C. He worked with O'Connell with the Rams in 2020, though, before taking on the Lions DB coach and passing game coordinator job in 2021. Under Aaron Glenn, as well as Dan Campbell. And he's worked with Raheem Morris, Wade Phillips, Aaron Glenn, who's also seen as a future head coaching candidate. He coached Marcus Peters, did some nice things with the Lions DBs this year. He definitely kept the Vikings out of the end zone when the Vikings lost the Lions, but, you know, whatever. And he is seen as an up-and-coming name in defensive coordinator circles. So he will be untested. He's never called defensive plays before, but, of course, you know, what does that mean? Well, whatever. I think that Aubrey Plesant certainly could get after it. Next up, Anthony Weaver is a name that you probably should remember. A Ravens defensive line coach, run game coordinator, 41 years young. 2002, he came out of Notre Dame as a second-round pick by the Ravens. Played 7 years in the league for the Ravens and the Texans, recording 15 and a half career sacks. Started coaching in the league in 2012. Crossed over with Kevin O'Connell and the Browns in 2015 under Mike Pettin. Yeah, it always comes back to Mike Pettin, man. He was defensive coordinator for the Texans in 2020, in the final year of Bill O'Brien. It did not go well. And I think I don't think it's so much on Weaver as it is more the Texans just lacked talent on defense, and Bill O'Brien had a mess before he was fired, but it wasn't good. 27th in points, 30th in yards. Their 2020 defense was very Vikings 2020 defense adjacent. But Weaver is renowned as a solid player's coach, but if the Vikings did bring in Weaver as defensive coordinator, he would probably assume a lot of defensive line coaching duties as well. So maybe Andre Patterson probably going to be gone. But what can you do? Lastly, so Wink Martindale. This one makes a ton of sense because I think eventually Weaver and Plesant want to work their way up to becoming a head coach. And we've talked about if you're a good head coach from one side of the ball, you're going to have turnover on the other side if you have success. And it is what it is. But I think Wink Martindale, he doesn't seem like he's ever aspired to be a head coach. I think that he just wants to be a solid-ass defensive coach, solid-ass defensive coordinator. And at 58 years young, he could be a guy that would be in place for the long haul if and when Kevin O'Connell has a lot of success here with the Vikings. It could be an O'Connell-Martindale marriage that brings home a dozen Jerome Bardys in 10 years. But former Ravens DC, an interesting name because he has no professional ties to Kevin O'Connell, unlike the other two candidates, but parted ways with the Ravens after a down year, even though the Ravens had a lot of injuries, had a lot of Rona issues as well, and they're just sort of meh this year. But let's not forget, I mean, the Ravens under Martindale the last 3 years before last season were studs, man. They're number one in yards in 2018. They've been top 3 in points for 3 straight years, 2018 to 2020. He brings an aggressive, attacking, downhill, in-your-face 3-4 defense, which we would love to see here with the Vikings. So I would absolutely love Martindale, man. But Martindale, yeah, I think as of right now, Martindale would be my choice because it would be extremely Obviously, he's had great success calling defensive plays in the league before, coordinating a defense. Also, he would likely stay in place, like we mentioned, if and when the Vikings do have success. I do like Anthony Weaver. I think he got a raw deal that 1 year with the Texans, but he's also been a big part of the Ravens' success on the D-line as well. And then also Aubrey Plesant, who was seen as an up-and-coming stud. Now, is this what you want? Do you want Plesant and Kevin O'Connell to rise up together, both first-time play callers, and just getting things done, a full-on youth movement for the Vikings? Or do you want the veteran presence? Or do you want a little of both with Anthony Weaver? So I guess we'll see. But it is a pretty exciting time as the Vikings coaching staff is really starting to come together. Curtis Hodgins is expected to be hired as the running backs coach and running game coordinator on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, that does mean that Kenny Polamalu out as running backs coach, and Andre Patterson probably going to be out. Unless they do have him back as D-line coach, which I would love. But like we said, it would make sense to keep Patterson if you hire Plesant or Martindale. But if you do hire Anthony Weaver, who has such a strong presence on the defensive line, maybe Andre Patterson goes. But still, it's very early in the process, and we'll keep you abreast of all the information coming up this week. But your thoughts on our thoughts. 3 candidates emerged for the Vikings defense coordinator job. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skull Production Value.